surprised me most about our consumer council's approach to brand loyalty is that it really all came down to value, right? So oftentimes, I think of many of our clients like to create all sorts of experiences around their loyalty program, but it sounded like what our consumer councils want right now is the more I spend, the more I should save, right? So it's all about reward me for my loyalty with additional value, right? So that was surprising to me, and I think that's a big lesson, right, for our clients, right, to really think about how do I make sure that my loyalty program builds in that perception of incremental value. The more you spend with me, the more you save.
Loyalty has been changing a lot over the years, right? So we did a previous analysis and a report a couple of years ago that showed there are new drivers associated to loyalty that, especially for younger generations, plays to the emotional aspect. So giving the access to a lifestyle, giving the access to a way to empower one's own goals, being very goal-driven. Those elements still exist, but because of the economic downturn, of course, the connection with pricing, with discounts, were very much important as well. So I guess the challenge there is how much could being loyal as a consumer empowers you and provides you the lifestyle you could access by being part of that network. And how much this would bring you both emotional and functional benefits out of that. So I would say that for brands, the challenge is how could you pair up and balance those transactional, functional, and emotional factors to create a loyalty system that actually engages and create that loyalty.
Brands have a huge opportunity to do, and only few are taking advantage of this, is using their consumers as engines for R&D. And what I mean by that is you have all this information, right? You can get directly from your consumers, and they know your product, and they can be not only customers but brand ambassadors. And if you're using their insights to develop the next generation of products or the next new innovation, that could be tremendously valuable. Also, you save money on R&D because you're not hiring a third party, you're actually putting your consumers to work for you. And I think that there are some examples out in the fashion industry where brands, instead of hiring models, they rely on their own customers and their Instagram posts, and they can actually create this engine of what we call earned media as opposed to paid media. And I think brands across sectors now have that opportunity because they're directly in consumers' homes in a way that they never have been before.
Is to focus on convenience, flexibility, ease and all access, maybe being even more local in terms of proximity that they are right now, or closest to one's reality, right? Closest to where you are at that moment. And of course, content, great content will be a key factor to actually connecting those things together.
I think continuing to stay engaged with the consumer in a fun way, that is very important for them to drive loyalty. Continue to engage them through cooking classes or showing them new ways to use their product, maybe through connected packaging where they scan the package and it unlocks a lot of fun engagement. Amazon, for example, is doing that. When you get the Amazon package delivered, there is a AR or a QR code on the top of the package. When you scan it, there are a lot of fun things that you can engage with, right? How can you make it more functional and drive more engagement in a useful manner? I think that becomes very paramount.
Within the home, people are looking for utility from brands and looking for helpfulness beyond value. And whatever brands can do to kind of, help me be a better dad, help me be a better partner, help me, run the household, with a little bit more entertainment value, or make that meal, that extra 5% better than before. I think, it's a powerful thing. Obviously, a lot of food brands, and a lot of other brands that they come into the home, have always been talking about it. But I think particularly in this pandemic, some have innovated really interestingly. And I think kind of lessons for coming out of this that we'll probably continue to appreciate you know, once we go back to the workplace and so forth.
I would say there's kind of two things that I see as becoming increasingly important, especially as we're in this kind of, as I hope is the tail end of this pandemic era. One is trust and transparency, right? As consumers are becoming even more socially conscious, aware of social justice, aware of impacts around the world of their actions, we're seeing trust and transparency coming up. We heard it from our consumer council. Trust in the brand is important. Right now, it may be more of a tiebreaker, you know, and we'll probably get into that more on the ethics conversation. But I think it's going to become table stakes, right? It's going to go from being a tiebreaker to table stakes, and so being able to really create loyalty through trust and transparency, I think is going to be great not only for consumers, it's also going to be great for our planet, right? And then I would say the other thing I'm excited about is the opportunity to create loyalty ecosystems, right? So as we think about more creative ways to pay, as we think about fulfilling more of a consumer's needs through whether it's, you know, compelling membership programs, memberships and subscriptions and loyalty are starting to blur, right? They're starting to converge. If you think about Prime, that's considered a subscription, but it's actually the world's biggest loyalty program, right? As an example. So when we think about creating that ecosystem, so for a travel company, for example, if you're a hotel company, how do you create an ecosystem beyond the hotel room, or an airline beyond the seat on the plane? Right? And that's becoming increasingly important as flexibility becomes key, right? As we're coming out of this pandemic, we saw this huge surge in leisure travel demand. Now, all of a sudden with the Delta variant, that's coming down. So how do we create flexibility in loyalty programs so that I can use my points, my miles, whatever my currency is, for a variety of different things, and get that flexibility built into loyalty? And I think that's going to only come through having a very robust ecosystem of partners that can provide a wide range of services.
Exactly how the companies can balance those elements to make sure that they're creating something coherent that leverages the existing behaviors of the consumers and can actually change the world of loyalty. So how can we simplify the overall thing? Get much of the challenges in simplifying that, making that convenient for the different typologies of consumers. And of course, pairing it up with the different consumer segments that you might see in your customer database. Is in understanding that a typology of offering or typology of loyalty we would like to push forward. So for example, the loyalty programs that are related to a lifestyle. There are another ones that are related to identity, or whatever you're trying to achieve as a human being.
I think what's interesting when you think about loyalty is really think about community, and you know, and just the surge of social, the surge of content consumption, the surge of following like-minded people, whether they're, you know, immediately within your vicinity or, you know, aspirational. I think, you know, one of the things that the pandemic's kind of shown us is that people want to be part of communities and have that sense of belonging. So I think, you know, the more that brands, particularly CPG and retail brands, can kind of foster that sense of community, and also incentivize people to become a part of it and to participate, I think that's going to be something that I think will be enduring coming out of the pandemic as well. Obviously, it's not a new phenomenon, but I think you know, the rise of that need, you know, has been pretty high, and I think will be pervasive.
I would say subscription and continuous engagement in a fun way would be the two things that that would be most important for brands to watch out.